Halloween is over and fall is in full swing. Have you updated your catalog yet? Are you planning on reusing arrangements that performed very well last year? Or are you planning on creating something new? Maybe a combination of the two. Today I'm going to be creating a really fun long and low arrangement that serves very well throughout all of November, especially for the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. Today, we're gonna be using these beautiful two-tone mums. I'm using 6 of these. Sunflowers, we're gonna be using 6 of these as well. We are using these beautiful creamy quicksand roses. I'm gonna be using 10, and I like to use 10 because that way for every 2 bunches, I can make 5 arrangements. Safari, I'm only needing 2 stems because these are nice and full. If you get the half ones, you might need a little bit more. I usually cut them in half so I can use multiple portions of these. Marigolds, 1 bunch of Soleaster, 2 extra large and delicious hydrangeas, and approximately 1 bunch of seeded eucalyptus. This also varies depending on how full your bunch comes. For our base, we're gonna be using a single brick Oasis tray. And to make sure that this is nice and secure, I'm gonna be using the 1/2" Oasis waterproof green tape. Finally, we're gonna be using an 18-inch plant stake to adhere 2 pumpkins on either side of your arrangement. I'm gonna be using this and cutting it in half. And then whatever you feel comfortable with, whether it be clippers, a knife, or whatever shears you like to use. So let's get started. Okay. You're gonna wanna make sure that your floral foam is nice and wet. As you may be aware, you need to make sure that your floral foam is soaked with the little holes facing up so that there's no air bubbles. Don't push it down, just make sure that it soaks on its own. Once it's completely soaked, you can press it on your tray. Then, using your 1/2" waterproof Oasis green tape, you're gonna wanna adhere it. You're gonna wanna do so, I like to do twice and then once across. So we wanna start on the edge and then bring it around twice, repeating right where the one below was. There you go. This is so that once you insert all of your florals, you have no issues with your tray or your floral foam moving around. Most people can stop here. I'm gonna just go the other way around as well, just for extra security. Even though this is 1 brick, we can make our arrangement even longer than this. I wanna go about 3 to 4 inches on either side. What I'm first gonna do is create a base with my hardy hydrangea. I'm actually not gonna put the whole stem at once, but rather put it in increments. So I might be good right here. I'm not gonna use all of it right now. I am gonna put some of this away in some water. Now, we're gonna continue growing the base using some eucalyptus. I like using seeded because of the different texture, and a lot of times it comes nice and stern, so it's not floppy when I'm putting it in. Once you have a solid base with foliage and hydrangeas with intentional gaps, now you start putting in your star flowers. I'm gonna start with my sunflowers because they have the hardiest stem. I wanna make sure to have enough space for all the other blooms when I'm designing. This recipe calls for 6 sunflowers. However, depending on the size, sometimes I'll use less or more. Because this is an arrangement that we assume is gonna be placed in the middle of a table, we wanna make sure that we balance out our flowers all the way around. Up next, we'll be using our quicksand roses. We wanna make sure to first clean out all of the protective petals and remove any thorns. When you're placing your roses, I love to add in a little bit of dimension. So don't have everything evened out. Rather, think of what a rose bush looks like. Whenever you look at a rose bush, the flowers, the roses are in different directions and at different lengths. Think of that when inputting your roses. You want something a little bit higher, a little bit lower. It makes it really fun and more natural and organic. And now time lapse. As you can tell, our arrangement is looking a little bit on the pastel side, but I wanna add in a little bit more of a pop. So that's where I'm now bringing in this two-toned mum that's beautiful, and really on theme for that harvest look that we're going for. A lot of these come also with these protective nettings, so just be very careful when you're getting it. I recommend going from the bottom and rolling it up so you have no issues taking it apart and you don't break your mums, because these can be a little frail if not handled correctly. So now we're gonna incorporate these safari. I love these because not only is the color so rich, but you can use multiple sections of this as different stems. These also help in elongating your arrangement. If you wanna make multiple stems, you wanna make sure to cut at the base of a leaf, leaving you enough space to clean the bottom to have a clear point of entry since you are working with floral foam. If you don't remove these leaves, you risk breaking your foam, and you wanna avoid that at all costs, since once you insert something, you wanna avoid taking it out and putting it back in. Breaking your foam breaks the base of your arrangement, and we wanna avoid that at all costs. So once you cut up the top part, you can probably get one more piece out of this. In that case, we can cut it at the bottom, clean this up for a clear point of entry, and then see where you wanna insert before cutting and placing, like so. At the end, I like to always step back and just take a look and see how my shape is flowing. I'm now gonna move on to my marigold. Same as my other flowers, I wanna make sure to have a clear point of entry, so make sure that there's no leaves on the stem before cutting them, measuring, and placing into your floral foam. Don't have it be one round ball. Add some variegation, add some texture so that your florals look natural and organic, while also giving each flower its own moment in its own place. Last but not least is a bunch of Solidaster. This, along with my eucalyptus, is what I use to add a little bit more whimsical texture because of the little beads from the seeded eucalyptus and the buds from the Solidaster, but also to help us cover up any mechanics that haven't been covered already. Many of you can stop here. Your arrangement is done, it's beautiful, it's full all the way around. You've got a lot of dimension and texture with such a big variety of florals. But if you had a few leftover pumpkins from Halloween, why not incorporate them into your harvest arrangement? In order to do this, I'm gonna use these plant stakes. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it in half at an angle. Then I'm gonna place it into my pumpkin in the direction that I want it to be placed into my arrangement. Usually what I'll do is I'll put one on one side and one on the opposite corner. I like to see the little stalk. I like to angle it slightly up. So instead of down or like this, at an angle. Make sure you insert your stick all the way until right before you feel the puncture on the other end. This gives you a lot more balance. Then you wanna cut it so that it's just inside your floral foam and stops at the base of your base, like so. Then with one hand, you can make space, and with the other hand, insert. I don't recommend waiting until the end of November to start thinking of designs to sell for Thanksgiving week. Instead, take advantage of fun events that happen before Thanksgiving, like Friendsgiving. While we're in fall, we're going into the season of people hosting a lot of parties, hosting events, and trying to figure out ways of making these events even more fun. A great way for you to do this is to offer your customers to host floral classes at their event. For the floral classes, you can sell your arrangements at retail cost as a flower kit. You save on designer hours by having your customers' guests do the designing. Have you ever hosted a flower class? How did it go? Let us know in the comments.